My question here is the implications of all of this. On a macro scale, we kind of touched it on, the elections and all of these scenarios, really Orwellian scenarios where they're controlling just a few big tech companies are really playing quote unquote God with everything just for their own personal interest or just because, they can and so they do. I don't really know why would they do it. Now, in every single metric, they've won the game, right? So I don't know why they want to keep doing it. It's just, that's a philosophical question for another time, Mike. But here, what I'm trying to ask you is the implications for me, for example, for the regular individual who lives under a democracy. What are these implications coming into a 2024 election with AI censorship? And how, who should really be worried about this coming into fruition?
Well, we're seeing the emergence of a very balkanized internet. The fact is from 2018 to 2022, these AI censorship super weapons were completely inescapable because the senior leadership of every platform in the world essentially was all captured by the same entities who were developing these AI censorship super weapons. That is the trust and safety teams at Google, at Twitter, at Facebook, at TikTok, and Reddit. They were all working with the Department of Defense, the Department of State, the Department of Homeland Security. Right now, Twitter, for example, still has censorship layers. It's going to take years for Elon Musk's team to disentangle all the trust and safety censorship layers that were appended on to the various distribution algorithms from 2018 to present. But the fact is the 2024 election is going to be a very it's going to depend on how much pressure is brought to bear on alternative platforms and Musk. Like we're seeing right now that the Facebook alternative, Threads, already people try to create new accounts on there, and as soon as they log in, they're notified that they've been identified as repeat misinformation spreaders, and that their accounts are going to be throttled before they even post. And they know this when they log in. There have been dozens of screenshots from extremely high-profile individuals who, the moment they've created their account, they're notified that they've been identified by independent fact-checkers as a repeat misinformation spreader. And when people try to follow their accounts, they're given these warning signs that they're repeat misinformation spreaders. That means all of them are going to be algorithmically throttled right out of the gate using AI censorship techniques. That is, everything they say is going to be filtered into these AI models, and if they become influential on Threads, everyone they're connected to is also going to be downranked. The specific words they use are going to be assigned a toxicity score rating that is going to tank it. It's not clear that Twitter is going to have that. Now, they may be built in stealth under Linda Yaccarino. It may not. There is a kind of question about what happens to the Titanic when it hits an iceberg and there's one little hole. Can the whole thing kind of go under over it? There was this race to make sure that there was a silicon curtain that descended over the entirety of social media from 2018 to 2022, so that there was no platform where dissent would be allowed to be distributed. Elon Musk has so far done many brave actions to put a hole in that Titanic. And the question is in 2024, is that going to be enough to potentially, sink this behemoth of a bad actor, or at least will it give people freedom so that if they want to be on a more information curated platform like Threads or Facebook or Google, that they can, if they want a no holds barred free speech debate where all walks of political life are welcome to speak their truth, then they can go to Twitter. So what I'm really concerned about, though, is it's been very disconcerting to watch Mark Zuckerberg's redemption arc in the eyes of the national security state and news media. After the 2016 election, he could do no right. He was hauled before the Senate Intelligence Committee. He was threatened with breakups by Elizabeth Warren and Amy Klobuchar, and now he could do no wrong. I'm very concerned that they will build up Threads as a Twitter alternative, and that they will use AI censorship techniques. And that is, everything they say is going to be filtered into these AI models. And if they become influential on Threads, everyone they're connected to is also going to be algorithmically throttled right out of the gate using AI censorship techniques. That is, all of them are going to be algorithmically throttled right out of the gate. It's not clear that Twitter is going to have that. Now, there may be built-in stealth under Linda Yaccarino. It may not. it will start getting government support. It'll start getting, being built up as this sort of replacement so that something can be done to crush or bankrupt Twitter, and it won't be this crisis level event because everyone will fall into the arms of Threads. And if that can be done ahead of the 2024 election, then they can reimpose this kind of totalizing censorship infrastructure. Even if Elon Musk does the right thing, if they simply bankrupt him through boycotts or through regulation. I mean, look, we're 1 month out from a mega regulatory bomb being dropped in the EU. I'm sorry, final closing point. On August 25th, the disinformation rules of the Digital Markets Act in Europe are going to come into effect. The Digital Markets Act was something I dealt with personally. I fielded phone calls from Google lobbyists when I was at State when they were trying to stop this thing from getting passed, or at least in its most aggressive form. The EU market is going to require compliance with its disinformation laws. I am afraid that Twitter, if it wants to retain a market in the UK, in France, in Germany, which it's going to need to do to be a relevant platform, they may need to censor all manner of political speech simply for compliance with these new EU regulations. There are all these regulatory threats. I mean, these guys have so many cards up their sleeve, what we're up against. And, all we can do right now is spread the word and try to manifest it in Congress and in lawsuits and in media to try to put as much pressure as we can to try to bring about that kind of nuclear nonproliferation we talked about.
Mm. So does it seem for you, in your perspective, that this new election cycle will be more open or will be more prone, with the whole nuclear AI bomb being unleashed? Will it be more, difficult to really embrace democracy in a way in this election?
It's it's hard to say. Like I said, there's so many wild cards right now.
Yeah.
Twitter is now more or less a free speech platform. You can talk about COVID-19. You can talk about masks, vaccines, mandates, Bill Gates, Anthony Fauci. You can talk about all of these totally censored topics that were censored for 3 years before that. You can talk about, elections, and you can talk about, a lot of very, very sensitive policy debates that were totally closed off. So in that respect, it's freer. There's also been challenges to the funding of a lot of the censorship architecture lately. It's unclear that a lot of the forces that seemed so invincible in 2020 and 2022 are going to be invincible in 2024. But as I say, they have so many tricks up their sleeve. It's what if these disinformation laws in 2024 start requiring political disinformation? All it would take is a couple definitional changes. And then suddenly, what is Twitter just going to cut off all of Europe? You can't even talk to people across the other side of the Atlantic. I mean, that would instantly turn Twitter into an echo chamber. It would destroy the thing that makes it so special as a global platform. So all of that remains to be negotiated. It's hard to peer through that fog of war for 2024, except to look at the pieces as they are on the board now and say it's a really fascinating time to be alive.
It is, Mike, and your work with the Foundation for Freedom of Line, really shedding a light into all of these chess plays that we're seeing. I love the metaphor that you used today with chess, and also for me, what opened my eyes into this whole AI new tech world was the game of Go, when Go lost, to the machine.
Right. AlphaGo, yes.
That was mind blowing for me. So, Mike, I really appreciate you joining me today. I really, this has really been an enlightening conversation, hopefully one that we get to talk more in the future. And, with Foundation for Freedom of Line, you're on a mission, like you say, to restore the golden age of the internet. So, I believe that with these conversations and also with you being courageous enough to just open perspectives into, for example, for me, that, this is really playing into my daily lives. And, really the internet is not the lemonade stand. It's really a decision making into my own time on Earth, literally, and bigger implications on my macro scale. But Mike, I appreciate you joining me. So thank you.
Well, thank you for your